Hello, and welcome back to Music Therapy and Beyond. Today is a special episode because it is a bonus episode for the month of August. But today is also special because we are joined by a guest, Tara McConnell, MTBC. She's bringing us a message of encouragement, community, and hope reflected not only in the music therapy work being done through Sophie's Place, but also for music therapists everywhere. Let's meet Tara before we jump in. Tara McConnell is the Executive Director of McConnell Music Therapy Services, Incorporated, serving the greater Sacramento, California area since 2002. A 1995 graduate of University of the Pacific, Tara is a passionate advocate for music therapy, serving on the California State Task Force for many years and receiving AMTA's Changemaker Award for Music Therapy Advocacy in 2015. She thrives by encouraging and mentoring her team, supporting new professionals, providing consultation for music therapy business owners, and creating new programs. Tara's agency employs 9 music therapists and serves multiple medical, psychiatric, and rehabilitation hospital settings, special education programs, and private clients. In 2016, Tara's team helped to open the second Sophie's Place, a pediatric music therapy studio built within the Sutter Medical Center, Sacramento's Children's Center. She believes in the power of music to transform people and communities and is a lifelong advocate for innovation in the arts and medicine. I hope you will be as encouraged by this episode as I was being a part of this conversation. And as Tara will go on to say later, we are looking for good news. People are looking for good news, and she is going to bring some to us today. Let's get to it. Well, Tara, it is so wonderful to have you on the podcast with us today. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're so excited. So, first, if you don't mind just introducing yourself to our listeners, kind of tell us about your clinical journey and how we got here today.
Well, let's see. Once upon a time, no, in very long time ago, actually, I was a young piano student in the mid-'80s, and I just fell in love with music. I had this moment where the world kind of stopped around me, and I was actually just immersed in creativity and writing pieces and improvising on the piano. And I was about 8 or 9. And I felt like your soul is just captured. And I knew that I had to do music somehow, somewhere. So that's kind of the beginning. And that morphed into auditioning for the junior high jazz band and not getting it. And them handing me a bass and saying, if you learn this over the summer, you could play bass in the jazz band. And so I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. I'll do that, fill a need, right? It started way back then.
Yeah.
And so that led me on to studying bass and then going to University of the Pacific in Stockton and California and majoring in music therapy. I really didn't fully know what the music therapy was. I was a psychology major, and then at the last minute switched to the conservatory and auditioned. It was kind of a big jumble of time where, you're 18, you don't really know what you're doing. And I checked a box and I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. Kind of like therapy, psychology, right?
Yeah.
My very first day of college, my professor, Audrey O'Connell, she is no longer with us, but she is with us in spirit. And every single day, I think of the things that she taught me. Very first day of college, very first day of music therapy, she did this music relaxation exercise. And it was absolutely amazing, using piano and vocal improv. And I knew immediately right then that's what I had. That was my life's work. So I'm really lucky. I feel very blessed that I had that experience, but I will say it was a lot of luck and a lot of chance and a lot of just following your intuition where you need to be in life that kind of got me here. I graduated in 1995 and I started my business in 2002. McConnell Music Therapy Services. We're based in the Sacramento area. I live in the foothills outside of Sacramento and Auburn. And since then, I've had the luxury of working with some of the best music therapists, I think, ever. Our team has always been really, really highly skilled musicians, highly skilled clinical therapists, and we've built some really amazing programs across 6 different, actually soon to be 7 hospital systems, school districts, eating disorder clinics. We work in psychiatry, special ed, oncology, neuroscience, pediatrics, obviously, which is really exciting, which is what we get to talk about more today with Sophie's Place.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah. So I helped start, along with my colleague Celeste Keith, back in the day. I worked for her company, The Music Works, and we together started the program at Sutter Hospital in Sacramento. And it was pediatrics and adult oncology. And it started very small, like 8 hours per unit per week, back in 1996. And since then, then it grew and the program shifted. They ended up hiring a music therapist in the middle. And then in 2007, I was in business. They contracted with my company. And then in 2013, I get this message, because I was just in adult oncology at that point.
Okay.
Saying, we have this opportunity. Number 1, we're building a new hospital across town. And number 2, we want a music therapy studio. I had been kind of bugging the child life director for about 5 years at that point. So she knew who to call when it was opening.
Right.
And it started very small at just 10 hours a week. And they said, we are going to build this music therapy room called Sophie's Place in the new hospital. And first of all, I was totally blown away. And I will tell you that the story of Sophie's Place and the history of music therapy in this capacity in the hospital began in honor of a young girl named Sophie Barton. And she passed away suddenly at 17 years old. And her family wanted a way to honor her. She was a singer-songwriter, incredible songwriter, musician. She had released albums. She had volunteered at Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City and wanted to be a music therapist. And her family, together with their friends, Steve and Barb Young from the Forever Young Foundation, wanted a way to honor her and build these music therapy spaces.
Wow.
In hospitals. And it's pretty phenomenal. Not only the generosity and the community partnership, but just her memory. And I never met her. I wasn't able to meet her, but I feel like I know her through her music and her songs and the stories from her family that I've been so honored to be a part of.
Wow.
And every single day going into that space, you feel that energy of wanting to help kids, wanting to share music. And
what an incredible legacy for such a young person.
Right. So it
Beautiful.
started in Salt Lake City. Um, our Sutter Children's Center is part of Sutter Medical Center, Sacramento. And we were the second one to be created in the country. There are now, let me look at my notes, there's 6 active programs
Wow.
across the country right now, with more to come, hopefully. Um, there is a mobile Sophie's Place with the Taylor Family Foundation in Livermore, California. They have a van filled with instruments that goes to different hospitals. Of course, there's Primary in Utah, Cardin Children's in Mesa, Arizona, Mott Children's at University of Michigan just opened last
Wow.
month, and it's fabulous. I can't wait to go visit. Brenner is almost ready to do their opening in Winston-Salem, North
That's
Carolina.
incredible.
So
All
it's
over.
all over, and there's more to come. And to give you an idea of what it is, just on a logistical level,
Yeah.
because I'm not there, I'm not recording it there today, but because it's being used for most of
Yay.
the time. But you walk in, and one of Sophie's songs was called Shine On. And it's this beautiful song. And so the words shine on are integrated in all of the design of all of the different Sophie's places. So in ours, and we can put links
Oh,
in
yes.
the podcast
Oh,
to
yeah.
different photographs and things. But
I'll make sure everybody can go look at the pictures online.
yes, they're beautiful. You walk in, and the words, big bold words, shine on, light up outside the doors. There are electric guitars mounted in the walls, in the wall to the left of the doors. There's a beautiful mural of Sophie playing her guitar, and this beautiful art piece that her father created with her song lyrics and her handwritten notes that covers the back wall of her
Wow.
song lyrics and different stories. And really, the words music changes everything. And that is really their focus. It's realizing the power of music in the children's hospital to create change and create healing.
Yeah.
And that's why we're there. These places don't exist just through the Forever Young Foundation. It's a full community partnership through the Sutter Medical Foundation, the Sutter Medical Center Foundation, the everyone from the people that came in to do the flooring, to the textiles, to the lighting, the professional sound, professional recording studio. It's phenomenal. And the donations of instruments from different community partners, different nonprofits in the area. Angels for Hearts is one of them. Skips Music, local music stores donated.
Yeah.
And many more that I can't remember off the top of my head, just lists of community partners
Man.
that helped create. Even the flooring has a design of a treble clef and a bass clef intertwined in the floor. It's
That's so
beautiful.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's just, it's one thing to imagine it. I know it would be just absolutely breathtaking to be able to walk into that space, which you guys get to do every day. And I think that's so amazing, not only to work there, but as patients and staff and families of the hospital get to use that space. I mean,
Yes.
that's so impactful. So if you could describe like how the space has been used, is going to be used, like what kind of work are you doing in Sophie's Place?
Well, this is super exciting to tell you what we were doing, how we adapted in
Yes.
2020, and then kind of what we're doing now and getting back and what our
Yeah.
goals are. Prior to COVID, we would do an average of 200 to 250 groups a year
Wow.
in that space. It was pretty much a daily, weekly group that would happen. We had groups for teenagers. We had parent support groups for parents of babies in the NICU. And we have a full NICU program as well attached to our music therapy services.
That's awesome.
Sutter contracts with my agency, McConnell Music Therapy, for all of their music therapy services for peds and other sites. But for right now, before COVID, we had 2 full-time people pretty much. And that's now, 3 half-time people, but it's a little less than we had before. But we're currently not able to do groups as much. Obviously, like anything, we can do it, but it's limited in how many
Sure.
people. So we're not serving as many people right now. Prior to COVID, we would have, like I said, the daily groups, all different types of groups. We would have monthly showcases where musicians from the community would come in and perform, and we would open up the doors. We're very strategically placed in the hospital so that the doors open and you're on the second floor looking down into the full lobby of the hospital. So it's very exposed. We can put the PA speakers outside, have people walk by, even the staff that don't have time to stay and listen, just walking by, it changes their mood, their perception of work that day.
Yeah.
And even the families too that aren't pediatric patients that tend to be walking around, and the staff, it really affects everyone. Hopefully soon, probably realistically, probably after this next flu season. So probably early 2023, we're going to bring back those showcases. We also were able to partner with our local Sacramento Philharmonic Symphony to bring small quartets and trios to come perform. So yes, it is a music therapy space for groups, but it's also a showcase place where we can have artists coming in. We're right next door to a professional music venue with traveling, well-known artists as well.
Yeah.
So we've had Lisa Loeb and Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons, and people stop by, and that's been really fun because we do have the professional sound and equipment and lighting to really accommodate those types of performances as well. It's a real treat. And what's so exciting though is these kids, they're in the hospital for months sometimes.
Yeah.
And it gives them a space to be and to go where they feel seen and heard. They have a voice. They can interact with other people. They can enjoy something fun with their sibling and their parents. And then they can also have a space to record the music that they may be working on at bedside with the music therapist when they can't always be there.
Yeah. And I'm thinking the word like sanctuary comes to mind with this space, and especially for patients getting to kind of get outside of their room if they're able to, and have a designated place to go, I believe would be a game changer for those patients.
Yes, absolutely. And the families.
Yes.
It is so, there really are no words to really describe it because it is so powerful to think, not only for the family to think, oh my gosh, we're important enough that somebody created this space for us.
Yeah. And what a great way to showcase music therapy too.
Right. Exactly. And having the resources, I will tell you, this is 100% philanthropy funded.
Wow.
And has been since 1996.
Wow.
And I hope that gives people hope that to continue to reach out to your foundations at your hospitals, the people in your community. Some people aren't even donors for the hospital, but they don't even know about what music therapy is or what they can do and what goals that music therapists work on and really the need there. Now, there are a lot of programs also that are fully hospital funded now, which is super exciting.
Yes.
And that is becoming the norm. And I think there's a place for however hospitals have to work, have to function. I mean, we're at a place where this is how Sutter Health has chosen to operate for now. It could change in the future. And I look at that as a win. If we have more music therapy in the world, that's a win.
Yes.
No matter where it is. And so I will say, though, that during the pandemic, during that horrible time of March 2020, when we were all like shut down and nobody knew what to do, Sophie's Place was that sanctuary
Mm,
for the staff of the hospital. We
that's
were not
huge.
able to see patients. Obviously, everyone was isolated, but
Yeah.
we opened that room with the support of spiritual care, social workers, and had it as a sanctuary for the medical teams. And I
Wow.
will tell you that we had music therapists staffing Sophie's Place 8 hours a day, 7 days a week in different shifts. So from 10 to 2 in the middle of the day and from 8 p.m. to midnight for the
Wow.
night shift. And the stories that came out of that, we served 578 frontline workers during 6 weeks of time. Actually, no, it wasn't 6 weeks. It was beginning of April through mid-June. Yeah, so 6 weeks. But it took us a couple weeks to figure out, okay, what are we going to do?
How do we do
So
this?
it
Yeah.
started 1st of April, and there were the stories that came out of those experiences of, it just, there is so much need for a place for people to go and decompress before getting in the car and going to their home and having to change and be there for their families.
Yeah.
It was a space where surgeons and parking attendants and EVS, environmental service workers, and physicians and nurses all were there together, 6 feet apart with masks,
Right.
very social distance and very safe. But there's enough space with the doors open to where people could be separate, but they could be together. And there was there's a piano in there. So we had surgeons playing the piano with a housekeeper playing the drum. And it was like there was community
Wow.
and there was support. And there really
And there
was
was
no other
music.
place. Yes, yes. And there was really no other place on the planet at that time where people could safely gather and play music that was allowed.
Yeah, that was not happening, as we
It,
all know. And
yeah,
like that hurt our hearts because we were not able to do that. You guys were
right.
able to make that happen. And like, I get chills.
It still gives me chills thinking about it, honestly, because it was that moment that we thought was just so bad. I mean, we thought, oh my gosh, we're done. Like, how's this even going to continue?
So
And
much
then
unknown.
it was really music itself that showed us what was possible.
Right. Which is funny
And
because I think we overlook that so much because as music therapists, we are very much in control of the music in the session planning and the way that we are strategic with how we use music. But it is in those very like human, raw, beautiful, natural moments where the music just does what it
yeah,
needs to do. And we don't always need to have control of that. Like we can just be hands off and just let it happen.
yeah,
And it sounds like that was what was happening. And it was exactly everything it needed to be.
right. And it was because of those moments that we thought was the end of the world. Now the whole hospital knows what we do.
They've experienced it.
Yes. And you can't, no amount of talking or reports or in services or, you know,
Data.
handouts or elevator speeches is going to do that. It's just
Right.
not. So our job as music therapists, our marketing campaign, if you will, is to show up.
Yeah.
Literally, just show up and bring music and bring yourself.
Yeah.
And don't think too hard about it. Yes, have a plan. Yes, know which NMT techniques you're using with the
Of course.
neuropatient.
Yeah.
Like, but don't shut yourself off so much that you don't make room for the music to do its job, which
Mm,
it does so well. And it's why this profession even exists.
yeah.
So, don't be too planned. That's my little takeaway. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's true, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a privilege to work with, like I said, with the team that I have. We have two amazing clinical directors, Daniel Basita and Becky Parker, that have been with us for 7 years. And just an amazing team of young professionals. We have an internship with University of the Pacific right now, hoping to get a national roster soon, once we can get that going again and get more permissions. But yeah, it's the people that you surround yourself. We've had amazing advocates at the administrative level for our hospital over the years. And we couldn't do it without them, truly.
Yeah. But I think what's so encouraging about that is because seeing how successful this program has been, and just the word that you've said over and over, and the kind of the word that summarizes a lot of the power behind this is community. And there have been so many involved in making this such a success. But that is so encouraging, because I feel like as music therapists, we're often told no. And when we try to do things, it can feel like we are having to fight so hard and work so hard, and it can be really exhausting. But what you're describing is very encouraging, just listening to this, because it is possible.
It totally is possible. And I will tell you that when you get told no, which happens a lot, not only from patients in the hospital that just don't want to have anything to do with music therapy, which happens, and that is their choice. That is an awesome thing when they tell you no, because they have a choice in that moment, which
there's autonomy.
Right? So it's all how we reframe it.
Right.
And as a business owner, especially when you get told no, great. That just means you're not supposed to work with them. And it just guides you to more where you're supposed to be. And to just not give up, if I could, pitch my case for not giving up and finding community people that are like-minded. Like I said, we partner with other arts organizations, with the symphony. I'm partnering soon with the Auburn Symphony here in Auburn to do some community outreach. No, it's not music therapy, but the more people are educated in the world about the power of music to affect your mental health and your brain and your well-being, the better we all are.
Yeah.
And the more people are in tune with that, whether it's a big rock concert at a big arena or it's a small symphony concert in a local foothill town, the people need to be aware of how it's really helping their mental health.
Yes.
And if we can get that awareness just into the community at large, generally, then when we go to introduce ourselves to the local memory care facility or the local school district or wherever we need to be that day, then it's not so foreign.
It's like the next logical step.
Yes, but you have to start globally because people they still don't know. I honestly, after doing this 27 years, I really thought we'd be a little farther along with, people understanding what we do. And yes, we are. We are.
Yeah.
But it's still a niche market, which is very positive if you're owning a business, right? There aren't enough of us, supply and demand. So it's really perspective and how we look at ourselves as music therapists and how we look at what our role is in the community. If our role is really micro in, okay, we need this contract or everything is going to fall apart, that's not really healthy because then you're dependent on somebody else's approval. And really, we need to know that, number one, this is science.
Right.
This is healthcare. And this is powerful. And humans have known the power of music since the beginning of time.
Yes.
So
it's not a new thing.
It makes actually modern medicine look new compared to what we know as music therapists, right? And so as we move forward, just standing firm in that and knowing that. And if people don't get it right away, that's okay. They'll come around or they won't, and it'll direct you as a professional or as a business owner or a clinician to where you're needed. But focusing on the global level of reaching masses of communities of through relationship with other arts organizations, just to know what you do. There's a lot more people that are receptive than you think.
Yeah.
There really are. You just have to keep putting yourself out there and calling people out of the blue and saying, let's have lunch, let's have coffee. I want to tell you what I do. Being a member of the Chamber of Commerce, being visible in your community, doing service projects and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that? And then it sets the stage for, oh, Sophie's place exists. Oh, I know this donor, blah, blah, blah. And it things just naturally unfold when people are, and music therapists, we're our authentic self and we share music first.
Yeah. And I think also knowing the value that we bring and the value of music therapy, and like you said, standing firm in that while we're building those connections,
Yes.
is an important form of advocacy also globally. Yes. And, on a micro scale when it comes to those contracts and things, but including that perspective and that mindset as we go in the community and not underselling ourselves either.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I will say, as a longtime California task force member, every music therapist should know who your local assembly members or legislators, senators are at a local level, at a state level, and a national level. And they should, at minimum, just you have an introduction or even an email with some information. There's not a lot of us in the country still compared to other professions. So if you think about some of the pockets of the country where we're not that represented, yes, there's been a lot of success recently with licensure in different states, and that's super exciting.
Yes.
California is still behind in that, but
we're working on it in Missouri too.
Yes. So, but it has been so well received when we do reach out, but we just need help. Every music therapist really needs to do that, because I think really that is the future, is policy change and insurance reimbursement, and not as reliant on the philanthropy piece as we have been here in California. So that's my little commercial for knowing who your task force people are and knowing who your representatives are. Just let them know that it even exists. Not so much so they can answer questions about it. I mean, they're not going to totally listen to everything.
Right.
They're very busy. But if a bill comes up in the next year or less than a year in their district or their legislative committee, they'll at least remember that you called them, and then they will call you and ask you questions. That's the idea.
Yeah, which is kind of the struggle, but also the benefit of being in kind of a niche profession, if you will, if you want to think about it that way, because they probably won't talk to very many of you. So when you do call and make that connection and then they see the bill, they're going to think, oh, I talked to a music therapist. That sounded really interesting. Or
let me look back in my files of things and dig out that information, because now I have it.
Right.
Instead of, I don't know what this is. No.
Right.
So, and even in California, our bill that we did have for title protection for board certified music therapists, it passed unanimously in all the committees. Wow. So it's not controversial. And it actually can bring everybody together right now, which is what we need. We need people to agree on certain things. So
there's that community piece again.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, it all ties in. And I think you never know who is going to be a big supporter. And like you've already described, the overwhelming amount of support that Sophie's Place has been shown, I think it would be hard for any representative, any legislator to know about an organization like Sophie's Place or really any music therapy practice and say, no, that doesn't seem to be worthwhile. Right. You know?
It's really, how do I say this? It's really good for them as well to come visit places like this. It's good PR for them and also for the programs. And this isn't just for Sophie's Place. I encourage any music therapist to reach out to your city council member or your local representative and ask them to come visit your program.
Yeah.
Mental health, especially,
Mm.
and is pervasive in every setting you're working in right now. Any music
Yes.
therapist is working in a mental health setting at
Yeah.
some level. From the schools to oncology to neuro, it is all really mental health support, and people are very anxious right now to find some good news.
And we have
We
been
need
for a
more good
while.
news.
Yeah,
And we need more good news in the community.
we
And
do.
guess what music therapists do all day, every day? I mean, yes, it's hard and sometimes it's painful and tragic and difficult
Exhausting.
and exhausting. But whatever that is that you are doing today matters, and it matters to the health of this community, any
Mm.
community that you're in. It matters to families, it matters to people, and you are changing the world.
It's making a difference.
It is making a difference. So
Yeah.
even on the days when you don't feel like you're making a difference, you still are, because you're there and you're working and
You've
you're
shown up
you're
with your
showing
music
up and bringing
and
music.
authenticity. Yeah.
Right.
You are not leaving it worse than you found it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a very precious and special profession to be in that sacred space with people. It really
Mm.
is.
Yes.
So remember that when you're questioning, I mean, you meaning music therapist listening,
Right.
when you're questioning your validity or your importance or all the no's that you're getting, it's okay. You still are valuable. You are in this profession because you have a gift and you get to use it every day in your work. And it's it's a really, really lucky thing to have. Even
Yeah.
on the bad days, even on the hard days.
Yeah.
But also take care of yourself too, because we need you. We need
Right.
you to stay in this field.
Please.
We
Yes.
need you to take care of yourself and model that for your colleagues and your patients.
Yes.
Your own mental health and wellness. That's super important. That's
Yeah.
something we do with our practice and our team, and it really does make a difference.
Yeah. I know that's something that we've talked about on the podcast a lot, and something that's very important to our team at Music Therapy and Beyond and Giving Song here too. It's it's that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right?
We're human too, and music is powerful, and we can also be using it for ourselves the same way that we try to share that with others, and it's important to be pouring back into ourselves.
Yes. And reminding yourself on a daily or even weekly basis why you even do this, and keeping music for yourself, even if
Yes.
it's one artist or band or something that is personal to you.
Yep.
It is okay to keep that for you.
I have those people. I have certain artists that are, those are mine,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
not bringing them to work with me.
Right. Because we all know that feeling of when we hear this song comes up on our playlist, and all we can think about is that group or that client or whatever. And
Yeah.
it starts, our world's kind of like enmesh in this really kind of weird way, and our relationship with music changes. And I'm here to tell you, after doing this so long, my relationship with music as a bassist, as a performer, as a music therapist, it's all just kind of shifted and morphed in all different ways.
Yeah.
And now I have the hindsight of experience to say, do not lose it. Keep
Yeah.
performing if you love performing, because it's part of you. It's part of
Yeah.
what makes you you before you're a music therapist. Music therapy can be a job.
Yeah.
It is a job. It's not, all of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be a profession, a calling, a
Yes,
vocation, but it is not your sole identity.
exactly.
Yeah. And I
Exactly.
think parsing out what parts of that belong where in your heart and mind and life is very important to be able
Yeah.
to protect things that need to be protected.
Yes. And in some cases, there's been music therapists that I have known that are like, you know what? I don't want to give it all away anymore.
Yeah.
And I am so much a performer that I need to do something else for a job because this is so precious to me. And I totally value that. Just so great,
Yeah.
that self-awareness. But at the same time, we love our music therapists in this field. We want to grow. We want to nurture you all. So it's if you are looking to get support from other music therapists. If you're a business owner that needs support, please reach out to the music therapists in your area, start networking in events, work with your task force, work with your regional organization. Our agency provides supervision and business consultation too. You can feel free to reach out to us. I would like to share we do have a job opening for a neurologic music therapist, ideally with at least a couple years experience. We work with 2 different hospital settings in neuroscience with Sutter Health. One is a inpatient rehabilitation institute where there's co-treatment opportunities with multidisciplinary team, and the other is an outpatient neuroscience center
Wow.
and it's all adults. It's 32 hours a week. We are in desperate need of somebody that is a strong NMT trained music therapist ready to go in the rehab setting. So I want to just give a little plug for that. Please email me or reach out through our website.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
a really cool
With a sign
opportunity.
on bonus. So,
Oh, there you go. For the music therapists that are listening and are really intrigued and maybe a little in awe of what Sophie's Place is about, is it possible to start a Sophie's Place somewhere new? How would someone go about that if this is just speaking to them?
if you are currently working in a hospital and you would like to find more information on how to bring a Sophie's Place to your hospital, please reach out to me directly. I can connect you with the Forever Young Foundation. They are a board, obviously, that sets up the different Sophie's Places. They work directly with the hospital. They know who to connect with and can find out who to connect with at the hospitals. And it's a process, obviously, that it takes, a good 3 to 4 years, I would say, before, the idea comes up to construction and all of the permits used, obviously. If you have a hospital that is in process of building a new site, that is to your advantage because it's much easier to create space from a blueprint before it's set up rather than pulling away a treatment room or a patient room. Typically, where Sophie's Places are remodeled into Sophie's Places are previous waiting room areas, things like that. So if there's excess waiting room areas or not used space, that's usually what they target. But they can work with, obviously, your hospital design team and obviously the philanthropy piece and the fundraising piece as well. So,
Yeah.
it takes a long time, but it is so worth it. And it is I still can't believe it actually exists.
Yeah.
Ours has been open 6 years. And
Wow.
I still get goosebumps every time I go through that door because
Yeah.
it's a place you don't even imagine ever could exist with any instrument you could ever imagine, with electronics that blow my mind, with the wireless PA and all of the things that we have access to and our patients have access to. That is where the healing happens. And it is such an amazing space. It is worth the work. It is
Yeah.
worth the work to find out who to call, who to talk to, meeting construction people in your community that may be interested in volunteering some time.
Right.
It's so worth it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think this message of how Sophie's Place brings hope and community to hospitals and to patients and staff and families has encouraged me so much today. And I think what you've touched on has extended beyond even Sophie's Place into our field and music community and why we do what we do and how we do what we do. So thank you, Tara, for bringing that to us today. This was just a fantastic conversation, and I'm so grateful for your time.
Oh, you are so welcome. And if anyone's listening, they want, like I said, more information, please reach out. If anyone needs hope or support or a cheerleader for your business, please reach out. I'm here to help. And it's just been a pleasure to meet you and to be a part of this podcast. It's so fun. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to Music Therapy and Beyond. For show notes from today's episode, head to our website, musictherapyandbeyond.com. And while you're there, check out our shop. If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe to share our work on all platforms. And don't forget to tune in every Monday for another great episode. We'll see you next time.